Okay, welcome to another video. Me and Ian have got a story to read. Haven't we, Ian? Yes. Well, this is going to be good, Ian, because this is one of my favourite books from when I was a kid. Well, Ian's never heard this story, so I'm going to read it out and see what Ian thinks. Okay. What's the book called then, Ian? Robber Hotzenplotz. It's called The Robber Hotzenplotz. So we're going to have one chapter. Chapter 1. It's called The Man with the Seven Knives. Ooh. So one day, Kasparul's grandmother was sitting in the sun outside of her house, grinding coffee. Kasparul and his friend Seppel had given her a new coffee mill for her birthday. It was a musical coffee mill. They had invented it themselves, and when grandmother turned the handle, it played Nuts and May. And this was grandmother's favourite tune. It was a tune she liked best. Do you know that song? No. Ian doesn't know that, but anyway. Now, grandmother had a new coffee mill. She enjoyed grinding coffee so much that she drank twice as much coffee as before. For the second time that day, she had filled up the mill with coffee beans, and she was just going to turn the handle again when suddenly she heard a rustling, snapping noise in the bushes. "Hand that thing over," said a rough voice. Grandmother looked up in surprise. She settled her glasses on her nose. A strange man was standing beside her. He had a bushy black beard and a terrible hooked nose. He wore a slouched hat with a red feather in it. He held a pistol in his right hand. With his left hand, he pointed at grandmother's coffee mill. "Hand it over, I tell you." Can you say that, Owen? Ian? "Hand it over, I tell you." That's it. That's what he said. "Hand it over, I tell you." But grandmother was not afraid. "I beg your pardon," she said indignantly. "How did you get in? And what do you mean by shouting at me like that? Who are you anyway?" The stranger laughed so much that the feather in his hat waggled to and fro. "Ho, ho, ho, ho." Yes, that's probably what he did, Ian. He probably went, "Ho, ho, ho, ho." "Don't you read the papers, grandmother? I'll give you 3 guesses." For the first time, grandmother noticed that the man had a sword and 7 knives stuck in his broad leather belt. She turned pale. Would you by any chance be the Robber Hotzenplotz? Ooh, sounds scary. Well, Ian, I think he is a scary, nasty character. But the book's all about the Robber Hotzenplotz, so I guess we'll have to find out what happens. Yes, we will. "So, that's me," said the man with 7 knives. "Don't make a song and dance about it. I don't like fuss. Give me that coffee mill at once." "But it doesn't belong to you." "Fiddlesticks," said the Robber Hotzenplotz. "Just do as I tell you. I'm going to count to 3. And he raised his pistol. "Please don't," said grandmother. "You can't take my coffee mill. I had it for my birthday. When I turn the handle, it plays a lovely tune." "Exactly," growled the Robber Hotzenplotz. "Exactly." That's it, Ian. That's how he would have sounded. "I would like that musical coffee mill too. Hand it over now." And I'm just gonna show them the picture there. There's the Robber Hotzenplotz, and there's grandmother with her coffee mill, and he's getting her to hand over the coffee mill. Poor grandmother. Grandmother heaved a sigh and gave him the coffee mill. What else could she do? Every day the newspapers were full of stories about the wicked Robber Hotzenplotz. All the people were terrified of him, even Sergeant Dimple Moser. And Sergeant Dimple Moser was a policeman. There now, that's better. With a grunt of satisfaction, Hotzenplotz stowed Grandmother's coffee mill away in his knapsack, and then he closed his left eye and he glared at Grandmother. Can you do a glare, Ian? That's probably what he might have glared like. Now you listen to me, he said. You're to stay sitting on that bench here and don't move an inch. Sit and count to 999 under your breath. What for? Said Grandmother. I'll tell you what for, replied Hotzenplotz. When you've finished counting 999, you can call for help. I don't mind, but not a moment too sooner, do you hear me? Or you'll be sorry. All right, whispered Grandmother, and no cheating. And as a parting gesture, the Robber Hotzenplotz waved his pistol at her again. Then he swung himself over the garden fence and disappeared. Kaspar's grandmother sat on the seat outside her cottage, white as a sheet, and trembling. The robber was gone, and so was her coffee mill, and it was a long time before Grandmother could begin counting. Obediently she counted 999. 1, 2, 3. Not too fast, not too slow. But she was so upset that she kept counting wrong, and she had to go back to the beginning, at least a dozen times. At last she got to 999. She cried, "Help! Help! Help!" That's it, Ian. That's what she did. She cried help. And then she fell down in a faint. Well, that's the end of that chapter, Ian. So should we leave it there? And we'll do the next chapter the next time. So we'll find out what happens in the Robber Hotzenplotz. So tune in for the next one. Say bye. Bye. Bye for now. Bye for now.